Greetings, I'm Professor Hobo and welcome to another Hobo Technos product review. Today we got something a little different. We have a 4G cellular booster by the company HiBoost. This is their 4K plus mid-range model. Now this is made for indoor use, meaning inside of a house or a cabin or a commercial building. When you're in an area that has a weak cell phone signal, this will actually boost the cell phone signal outside, bring it indoors, rebroadcast it up to 4,000 square feet. And this is one of the more powerful models on the market. It boosts up to 65 decibels, which is way better than the one I have in my van from HiBoost that only does 50 decibels. Now, I get asked about these things all the time. Are they actually worth it? Because these aren't cheap. But if you live in a rural area like this, one of these might be the difference between getting online or not. So, are these things worth it? Are they junk? Let's find out. So what comes in the box? Of course, you get the booster itself. This is where all the data gets put in, or you need to change anything. It has all the buttons. This has the indoor antenna. This actually does mount to the wall. So it has a bracket on the back and has all the inputs right here. Then you get a directional antenna. Now, you have to supply your own pole, but it does come with this mounting hardware, which I already put on. This is a directional antenna, which means you have to point this towards the cell phone tower. It's not going to pick up from every direction. It's only going to pick up from the direction that this is pointed at. So this is the front, so that points towards your cell phone tower. They also give you 50 feet of cabling, and that is so that you can run the outside antenna to the inside antenna booster. And then they give you this AC adapter, which converts wall outlet power to 12 volts. Yes, this does run on 12 volts. That means you can run it from a vehicle. All you need to do is just plug the 12 volts directly into the booster and it will work. But for those of you using this at home, you can just plug this into the wall and it will power it indefinitely. And finally, they give you a beer. Oh, wait, that actually wasn't in the box. No beer, sorry. And they also include screws for mounting the bracket to the wall. So this is for the indoor antenna booster part. You mount that to the wall and then slip the booster on that. They give you an antenna adapter in case you want to use a different kind of antenna. And then of course they give you the manual. So let's take a closer look at the manual here. Now this covers all their models. Now the model I have is the 4K Plus. They do have a 4K Plus Pro, a 10K Plus, and a 10K Plus Pro. And it basically depends on your needs. The 4K Plus does 4,000 square feet. The 4K Plus Pro will do up to 6,000 square feet because it includes a second indoor antenna. And then the 10K Plus, again, that's for 10,000 square feet. And then the Plus Pro is for 12,000 square feet. Basically, it includes more antennas, more powerful boosters, depending on which model you want. Now, I am going to have coupon codes for all these at the end of the video if you're interested in any of them, so stick around to the end. Now, this explains in very basic terms how this works. There's your cell phone antenna up there on the mountain. Your outside antenna picks up that signal, sends it inside of the booster. The booster then amplifies it and sends it to your mobile devices throughout the house. Now, if you have the Pro models, you get this second antenna that you can put in other rooms. Now, this does have an app you can use. You can install it and it will basically connect to the unit and it will allow you to do anything you can do on the unit. Now, I didn't install this app because I found it unnecessary. It wasn't necessary at all to use the app, and I don't just willy-nilly install apps on my phone. They're saying here you can use the app in order to install it through there, but what I did was I just did the LCD display method. I just installed the booster and I looked at the LCD and it told me how many decibels, and I just rotated the antenna and got the signal where I wanted it. And they explain here how to find the strongest signal outdoors, and basically it's as simple as putting the antenna up and rotating it until it shows on the screen the highest numbers for signal boost. And then they explain here how to install the outdoor antenna on a pole. You do need to supply your own pole or way to mount it outdoors. You can expand all the models with additional antennas, so it tells you here that you can actually install additional antennas indoors to expand your coverage. Now, here are the technical specifications for those of you interested. HiBoost does cover their products with a 3-year manufacturer's warranty. So how do you install the darn thing? Well, let's go over it step by step. It's very simple. And I'm just gonna let you know now, I did not do a permanent install here. I'm gonna figure out exactly where I wanna put everything before I start drilling holes through walls. So you can just do what I'm doing here and set it up temporarily, make sure everything works, and then take it from there, and then go ahead and do a permanent installation. Now, they do tell you in the book that this outdoor antenna and this indoor antenna need to be separated by 20 feet of vertical space. So make sure that you don't install this antenna too close to this one, or it'll overload and you'll get a message on here saying it's not working. And you also don't want to set this up so that this is pointing towards the antenna. So even if this is up high on a roof and this is down below, the way this works is this is actually broadcast like a cone. So think of like a giant ice cream cone coming out of this at the end. Ice cream. But you gotta remember this also transmits. So you don't want to have this in that cone of influence of this, or you'll again overload this and it'll come up with a warning and it'll flash lights and it'll basically tell you that this is too close to this. So just remember that when you're doing the installation, 20 feet is a good rule of thumb. Let's start with the hardest part first, which is the antenna. Like, how do you mount this outside? Well, it took me a couple of days of brainstorming to try to figure out exactly how I was going to do this, because I know where the cell phone towers are here, but I have limited mounting options because this building has a steel roof and I really don't want to drill through it. But I do have this balcony out here which already faces the direction of the cell phone towers. So I was like, maybe I can find a way at least to temporarily mount this on the railing outside and point it in the right direction, and that's exactly what I did. So the first thing you're going to want to do is mount the hardware on here, and I'm not going to go through how to do that because it's basically sticking bolts through holes and putting the nuts on there. But what you want to make sure you do is you want to have these grippy parts on the inside there. Can you see them? These got the teeth on it. So when you stick the pole in there and you tighten it down, it'll actually grip. Now we were going to put up this temporary carport, but I don't think I have all the pieces for it. So we have all these basically white pipes laying around. You can see them outside. They're filthy, but they're strong and they're just the right size and they're expandable. So I can, as you can see, I can stick one end into the other and make it as tall as I want. So I took 3 of these and I put them together to make a pole. Now you can go down to Home Depot or Lowe's and buy a piece of pipe for 10, 15 bucks and cut it to length and do it that way. I'll just show you right now. It's as simple as putting it right through, and there you go. Then all I have to do is tighten these nuts down, and then we're good to go ahead and mount this outside. The next step is going to be to take the 50-foot cable and unravel it and figure out exactly how you want to run it. Now my final mounting solution, I am going to have to drill a giant hole through the wall to feed this cable through, but I'm going to wait for that until I want to install some other electrical things outside. I'm just going to do it all at once. So I actually found a temporary solution to mount this through my air conditioner in the window. Made it simple, no holes to drill. Again, it's just temporary. So here's how I ran the cable outside, right through this hole, just like that. And I'll just put some tape or something over it to keep the bugs from coming in, but that was my temporary solution right there to get the cable from inside to outside. Now the next step is just to go ahead and attach the length of the antenna, which I've already run over here, and just screw it together. They say you're supposed to use some waterproof tape around this if you want. I've run these for years without putting any kind of tape around them, never had any corrosion issues, but always follow what they say in the manual. And then basically I just stick this up on top of the pole. And there we go. Now I'm fairly lucky in the sense that I can actually see the cell phone towers from here, so I know exactly where to point my antenna. But what you're probably going to have to do is just pick a direction, usually towards the nearest town. That's usually where they have the cell phone towers. And then just point the antenna towards that town and start your testing. All you have to do is point the antenna towards the town, go look at the booster, and see what the numbers say on it. So let's go ahead and hook up the other side of this cable to the booster, and we'll start our testing. Now I've decided to put the indoor booster antenna module over here right by my MoFi because I want to boost the MoFi signal. Now the MoFi does pretty good on its own, but this should make a huge difference. And again, I'm not doing a permanent installation. In fact, this isn't even permanent. I'm moving things around in here to try to determine over the long term where I want things before I start drilling holes. So I'm just gonna lay this basically on this table and hook up the cable to it. All we do now is go ahead where it says outdoor on here and hook up the outdoor antenna. Just screw it on, hand tight, and now you're ready to plug it in. And since we're in the house, we're gonna go ahead and just use the regular outlet power plugged into a power strip that I could easily turn on and off for my testing. This side plugs right into the DC input. Again, 12 volts. So you can run this from any 12-volt source, including a Jackery or a Blue Eddy if you desire. Which means yes, even in the apocalypse, when all the power goes out, you can still boost your cell phone signal. So there we go. There is my temporary solution to set this up. I don't want to mount it on the wall yet, but it's going to suffice right there for all my needs indefinitely until I feel like doing a permanent install. All I do now is flip this power switch, and we'll actually get power to the HiBoost, and it immediately will start boosting whatever signal. Now, we don't have the antenna aimed properly yet. Let's show you how to do that next. Now, hopefully you guys can see this. I intentionally pointed the antenna in the wrong direction to show you what a bad setup looks like. Now you can see on there, it says power dBm. All of them are low numbers. We got 1, -5, 5, and 5. That means it's not really being boosted properly. Those dBms should be 10, and specifically whichever band that you want to connect to. Now for me, I have Verizon, so mine's LTE 700, it's the top one. And then there's Cell 1800, PCS 1900, and AWS 2100. So depending on your carrier is which one you're actually going to care about. So how do we resolve that? We're getting low decibel numbers on our booster. Well, it means the antenna is pointed the wrong way. So let's show you how you're supposed to incrementally move the antenna until you get better numbers. So you can see I have the antenna pointing straight out that way, which is incorrect. But you don't want to just willy-nilly turn this thing super fast, but you do want to keep it around 20 to 25 degrees of movement. So we're going to go ahead and rotate this, what I call an 1/8 of a turn, to point it closer towards where I know the cell phone tower is. And that is what I call an 1/8 of a turn, because basically you turn it 8 times, you'll make a full 360. These antennas, they work in that 25 to 30 degree width. So you don't have to have it pointed perfectly at the cell phone tower. As long as you're within 5 to 10 degrees of it, you'll get the full boost. So let's go look at the booster's display and see how many decibels we got now. All right, looky what we have here. LTE 700 band is now at 10 decibels. That's actually maximum boost. And you can see over here on this side, it says 52 and 57. When it's being properly boosted, it'll be in the 50s. So there you go. I can actually leave it as is and get the full boost for Verizon in this case. Now we got pretty lucky that we only had to turn the antenna a little bit to pick up the maximum signal. Now, if you're not so lucky, you can just keep rotating it 1/8 of a turn and look at what it says on the display. When you see the display say 10 decibels there in that last column, that means you're getting like the maximum signal from that tower. So that's what you want to do. So just keep rotating it until it maxes out. And this is all in the book. It tells you exactly in the book how to tweak it. And if you don't want to do it the manual way, you can download an app. It'll tell you where the cell phone towers are, and then you can point directly at the cell phone tower. In many cases, you could see a cell phone tower in your neighborhood. You know where it's at. You can say, okay, I know that's the general direction, and then focus in on that. You can download their app and use their app. I'm not downloading it. I see it. To me, it's pointless. But you can use their app, and you can Bluetooth to the device. If you're in a remote location, you don't want to run back and forth, you can use the Bluetooth app to dial in the antenna. So that'd be a good situation for that. You can use it to do that and then uninstall it if you don't want. So now let's get on to the important stuff, the testing. Let's show you the difference between having a booster and not having a booster in a rural area such as this. We're something like 15 to 20 miles away from the nearest cell phone towers. So having a booster in this situation is vital to getting a good signal, because the other internet options we have here are very few. Yeah, get satellite, but it's limited. You don't have unlimited uploads and downloads on satellite. A limit to how much data you can use, and it's very expensive, and it's really even not that fast. If you're already paying for a Verizon, AT&T, Sprint, or T-Mobile plan, and you just want to boost that signal, this is a way to do it. Now with the booster off, you can see right now I have no signal. This is the screen from my MoFi, and it tells you how many bars you're getting from the MoFi, which is this crab looking thing over here. I always call it the crab. You can see I have no bars, big red X through here, and it says cannot connect to the internet. So right now I have no internet. Now let me flip the switch on and show you what happens. Now it does take a minute for the booster to power up. You can see the light on the screen right there is on. And I'm going to show you this real time because I want you to give you an idea of how quickly this thing boosts your signal. So it takes, I don't know, about 20 seconds or so for it to completely power up. And then once it completely powers up, we should actually see some bars showing up here. Now, I don't know. My service here fluctuates quite a bit because I'm up in the mountains. Sometimes I'll have 3 bars. Sometimes I'll have 2 bars. In this case, because of the booster, I actually have 5 bars. So now let's go ahead and do the speed test. 30 millisecond ping, and I went from not having a signal at all to it's showing 12, oh, there we go, or 13.5, 13.6 megabits down, and we're getting 10 up. So I went from having no bars and no signal to getting almost 14 down, 10 up. Now you can see how powerful this will be in a rural situation. You're out in the middle of nowhere, you have no signal at all, you can't do anything. This is enough internet speed for you to do 4K streaming on Netflix. And also if you are an uploader, you like to say you work remotely, which most people do now, you want a good upload speed. And in this case, you're getting 10 megabits. That's enough to do just about any kind of work. So you can see how powerful this is. All right, now let's do the test with a cell phone. I have the booster turned off, and this is just the cell phone connecting to the tower about 15 miles or something away from here. And we're gonna see right now I have about 3 bars, which makes about sense for where I'm at. Now you remember I am up on the 2nd floor, so I'm getting a little bit better signal than I would on the 1st floor. So let's go ahead and do a speed test with the booster off. Now note those milliseconds is actually a lot higher on my cell phone, it's 100. And we're getting a decent speed right now, 13 megabits down and about 15 megabytes up. So let's go ahead and turn the booster on. You'll see the light kick on, and then it takes 20 to 30 seconds for it to actually boost the signal. Okay, it looks like the signal is fully boosted to 56 decibels. Let's go ahead and do a speed test and see if our results are any better. Well, that's significant. So far, 25 megabits. Now here's where it really shines. When you have a booster and you really need some upload speed, here we go. 26, 27, 28. So there we go, 22 down, 28 up. That's a significant improvement using the booster. All right, now if that wasn't convincing, let me show you a different test. Now, as I mentioned, the cell phone tower is actually on that side of the room, so I put all my modems and everything on that side of the room because that's what faces the tower. Say you're in such a situation where you can't put your modems or your phones facing the tower, and you're actually the opposite direction. So I'm on the other side of the room with my cell phone here on the couch, and I'm going to show you the before and after of turning the cell phone booster on or off, because right now I only have like 1 or 2 bars of signal, and I only moved maybe 20 feet. So let's show you the speed test without the booster. So here's the speed test without the booster. You can see right there, pretty pathetic. That's only 1 megabit. Okay, so the booster over there is fired up and it's now powering up to full power. Let's go ahead and do another test. So I don't know if you guys can tell up in this corner, I am getting full bars of LTE service. So 5 bars compared to the 2 bars I had with the booster off. Let's see what kind of difference it makes for our speed test. Good ping, 60 milliseconds. Look at this, 28 megabit download, 28 down, 12 up with the booster on. So what do these results mean? They mean that if you're in an area with a weak signal or your cell phone's in a bad spot with a weak signal, and as a lot of people know, you can be in the same room. We haven't left this room. All we did was switch walls. We went from one wall to the other wall, and it dramatically changed the signal that I got on my cell phone. Now with a booster like this, This thing works all the way downstairs outside to the door. I can actually register a signal increase on my phone. I carry it downstairs and I turn the booster on and off. I set it in different places. And it worked all the way downstairs to where the door is. And that's pretty far. And seeing it as going through a floor, that's impressive. So this is a pretty powerful indoor antenna. And that's also why you have to keep it 20 feet away from the outdoor antenna. So if you are going to use something like this in an RV or a small building, make sure that your outdoor antenna is at least 20 feet away. Otherwise, you'll have what's called oscillation and the booster won't work properly. Now, if you're in an area with good signal, you want to turn this off because boosting a very strong signal sometimes actually makes your download speed slower. Now, the booster almost always helps your upload speed, even in a strong area. But sometimes it hurts your download speeds. So if you're already getting like maximum bars, you do a speed test, and you're getting like 20, 30 megabits or some kind of fast speed, you're probably not going to need to turn this on. This is for rural areas, or if you're in a forest or some kind of situation where you're not getting a strong signal to begin with. And it'll take what signal is there and boost it and send it to your phone or your router. And in my case, it's this MoFi. Now, the MoFi is one of the best modems/routers out there. It accepts chips from every service. You can put Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, or Sprint, and it works with all carriers. And it has these nice big paddle antennas, and it picks up signals from very far away and boosts them. So if you have a MoFi like this, you may not need a booster, but in my case, even though I have the MoFi, I'm so far away from the cell towers and we got so many trees around that the booster is actually a necessity, because I have the antenna outside going up above the roof and directionally facing the Verizon tower, and that's what's helping me out. So hopefully all this information has helped you make a decision whether or not you might need one of these. So there you have the results of the test. As you can see, very impressive if you're in a rural situation where you need to boost a cell phone signal. It makes a difference between getting online and not in a lot of cases, and in other cases, it makes a difference between 1 and 2 megabit downloads where you're watching YouTube videos at 480p to being able to watch videos at 4K or 1080p, just with one of these. And like I said before, they're not cheap. These generally start around the $400 range, and they go up from there. And this is one of the least expensive models, and then the 10K Plus Pro is one of their most expensive models. Now, I do actually have promo codes for all the models in case this one isn't for you. You want something with more coverage. Now, this would work great while you're camping or boondocking and you're in one spot for a while. You put the antenna up, aim it towards the cell phone tower. You can use their app to figure out where the cell phone towers are in that case. Aim the antenna towards the cell phone tower and boost your signal up to 65 decibels. And like I said, this is one of the most powerful ones on the market. HiBoost does have models that will boost that high, but they want like $600 for them, where you can get this one for around $400. You're saving a lot of money by going through HiBoost, and it's all the same technology. Now, I do own a HiBoost 4GX OTR. I've had it for 3 years, installed on the van. I love the thing. It has allowed me to have a YouTube channel while I was on the road. That does a 50 decibel boost. Now, 15 decibels doesn't sound like a lot, but it's kind of rated like hurricane strength. You know how like a category 1 is like 100-mile-an-hour winds, it's kind of weak. But then when you get a category 2, it's like 4 times as strong. And then category 3 is like 4 times stronger than that. That's how decibels work on these boosters. So 15 extra decibels is like way more power than I get in my HiBoost in my van. And I can tell you, I noticed a big difference already just inside this building, and this thing actually transmits outside. My antenna inside the van, if I don't have my cell phone like within 1 or 2 feet of that indoor antenna, it doesn't boost it at all. Where this thing boosts it across the room, through the wall, and outside. Now, it doesn't go super far, maybe 20, 25 feet. But that's impressive for an indoor antenna. And it does say right here on the box, they do have a headquarters in Texas, so you will be dealing with local people if you have a problem. So if you're interested in one of these 4K Plus models, or a 4K Pro, or a 10K model, I do have links in the description below with discounts to each model. I do believe this is 15% off for this one, 15% off for the 10K model, and then 20% off for the Pro model. So all the links are in the description below. I believe these codes are good for 30 days. They told me it's going to expire middle of October. So you got 30 days to buy one with that promo code. It's going to make it significantly cheaper than HiBoost. These are more powerful, just as good, but significantly cheaper than HiBoost. So it's going to save you some money. Instead of spending $600 or something like this from HiBoost, you can get this for under $400 with my promo code. So don't forget, links are in the description below. Thanks for watching. If you learned something today, don't forget to give me a thumbs up below. And if you're not a subscriber already, you know what to do. That's it for now. Till next time.
Odin commands you to like and subscribe, and clean my litter box.
So Odin, what do you think about the HiBoost 4K Plus?
RV Golf Guy, Z Foxfire, Jack Smith.